Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 244 of a year of change. Today we're going to sort of continue something we talked about a little bit yesterday. Not going to repeat everything I said yesterday, but I'm sure if history shows us anything, I'm probably going to repeat myself a couple of times. I had this conversation with someone a few days ago, actually, at work. And we were talking, and it's the same sort of conversation that comes up all the time, where, they always say, well, there's exercise, there's diet that affects things, but a lot of it is genetics. And you hear that a lot, people saying, well, it's genetics that, it's just harder for me to lose weight than other people, and, this is why I'm fat, all that sort of thing. And to some extent, they're right. And that's sort of what the document, when we're all sort of, I was going to say living in caves, but I don't know if we ever did. When we're still evolving into what we are now, there was a time when, basically we were hunter-gatherers. We just could scrounge for whatever we could, or ate whatever we could find, and just had to really scrounge for food. And when we started hunting, and that gave us meat, which gave us more protein, which helped us bulk up and get smarter and all the other good stuff. But there's a part of us that is still, 500,000 years worth of evolution. There's still a part of us that craves that, fat and the sugar and the salt, like all the stuff that's bad for us. Because we're so used to just, at the time anyway, over such a long period of time, having these moments where, maybe you would have one giant meal, over 2 or 3 days. And then the rest of the time, you're really fighting every step of the way for food. So our bodies are designed, in general, as humans, just to store as much fat as they can. And in today's climate, that's very easy to do. We have a lot of really high-calorie, high-fat, calorie-dense foods. High-calorie, calorie-dense. You know what I mean? So we have these just readily available, and they're just everywhere. It's dirt cheap to go get them. So, and we don't really need to do, we don't need to exert ourselves as much on a daily basis. A lot of us have jobs where we sit in front of a computer all day. When we come home, we sit and we watch TV. It's the way that our lifestyle is. Those are the major contributing factors to it. So our body is just designed to say, good, this is great. I have lots and lots of calories. I'm going to store as much fat as I can because eventually do us anymore. So that's why we get the way that we are. Now, the people that say, well, it's genetics. The documentary that I have in there today, you're going to see it is, but it's actually the other end of the spectrum. Generally, as humans, if we eat, we gain weight. There are some people that, we gain fat, I'll put it that way. But there are some people that, we've always heard it, they say, well, I can eat whatever I want and I never gain weight. They want and gain weight and not gain weight. I said that backwards. All right, start over. They say I can gain as much as I want. Oh my God. All right, sorry, it's very warm in here. That's what's causing the problem. Shut up. They say I can eat as much as I want and I don't gain weight. There we go. There's the blanket statement. The problem is they can't eat as much as we want and gain weight. That's what I wanted to say. No, it's not what I wanted to say. They can't eat as much as we want and not gain weight. Is this making sense yet? Maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Basically, the documentary that I have up today, it takes a group of people, and the goal is to purposefully get them to gain weight. These are the same people that are they always say that they're naturally thin. So what they do is they say, good enough. You say that you can pretty much eat what you want. We're going to double told them they were not allowed to use or to do any physical activity as well. They can go to work and do that stuff, but no exercise, no extra stuff. To basically sit and eat and do nothing else. Basically what our lives have been for, the past few years. So they took this group of people and they were all the same and they were all saying, well, I don't think it's going to be too hard. We'll gain weight. And a lot of it is the majority of it is just gaining fat. And, it's a little different because these are naturally slim people. So when they say, well, I've gained 10 pounds, and it's just the end of the world for them, and we think, you know what, no, that's not a lot compared to what we're trying to lose. It is in general, but compared to what we've been doing over the past few months, 10 pounds is nothing. I can gain that in a weekend. So now the reason why I sort of say almost across the board is that out of all of them, and I'm sort of ruining the ending here, but out of all of them, there was one person, everyone gained weight. That wasn't the issue. Every last one of them gained weight. But there was one of them out of the entire group that gained weight, but gained a very little amount of fat. and they actually gain muscle mass. Now, it's assumed that they followed the directions. They weren't doing any exercise. They weren't working out. They weren't doing anything. They were just sitting and eating double what they were supposed to eat. Some of them weren't able to actually eat that much in the run of a day, so they started going to high-calorie foods like ice cream. And there's one where the guy just sits and eats an entire bucket thing, like a bin, or what do you call it, a tub, there we go, of clotted cream. Yeah, so he doesn't look like he's enjoying it either. So they started turning to these really calorie-dense foods. But this one guy, it was weird because when everything was all said and done, he still gained weight, but a lot of it was muscle mass. He did gain a little bit of fat, but it, for some reason, converted into muscle. So when people say, well, it's genetics, it is, but we all have that genetic makeup, every last one of us. There are going to be outliers once in a while that are, going to be able to eat, pretty much anything and not gain the weight. But generally speaking, even those people, they're active. They aren't eating as much as, to them, they're eating enough because they don't have that appetite. But when we look at them and we think, there's no way you can eat as much as you want because we have a perception of what that amount is. For them, they might say, well, no, I get up, I have a bowl of breakfast, or a bowl of breakfast for cereal. Fucking tool. I have a bowl of cereal for breakfast. For lunch, I had an egg. And then for dinner, I had, a slice of pizza. To us, that's a very small amount of food. I mean, it's enough to sustain a person throughout the day. And for that person, then yes, that's more than enough. So they can say, no, I can eat whatever I want. I can eat pizza and I can eat hamburgers and all this other stuff. And of course, I don't gain weight. But they're also active. They're out doing things. They go and they ride their bike for fun and they walk their dog and all this stuff. So when you hear someone say that, it's important to sort of take that into account because in our head, a lot of us probably think, so you can sit and you can eat like 2 bags of chips and an entire pizza and a tub of ice cream and just lay around the house all day and you don't gain weight. That's why we're jealous. That's why we hate them. But that's not the reality of it. The reality is that no matter who you are, if you do nothing and you overeat, then yes, of course, we are going to gain weight because that's how we're wired. But there were a number of different things in the documentary as well that they sort of touch on. The genetics thing is just the thing that really sort of stands out because that's the main focus of it, is just watching this group of people slowly gain weight week after week. But they also touched on, there was a doctor that said that there's a particular virus that a lot of obese people seem to have. And I'm very wary of stuff like that because, again, that's just another excuse for us to go, it's not my fault, it's a virus, I'm sick, so it's not my fault. And I think he said around 30% of people had this, but others sort of a little lopsided for my taste, but they don't touch on it very much. They just have a little brief sort of snippet on it. They also talk about a few things that are contributing as well. They show, eating habits when we're young. Those just develop as we grow older. They took a group of kids in a kindergarten and they gave them a regular meal. And when all the kids said that they were full, then they just let them go out and play, and they put a little tray of like cookies or sweets or something in front of them, and just to see which ones would still pick at it and which ones wouldn't. And, judging by that, they say, well, these are the eating habits that we're probably going to carry over into adulthood. And it goes as far back as being in utero when, they say if there's a pregnant woman, depending upon the diet that she's eating, that can have an effect, they think. It's enough to warrant looking into further that can have an effect on how that child reacts to food later on, which I think is more of a genetic thing as well. But there's a whole slew of information that's really, really interesting, and I kind of ruined the ending for you, but I won't tell you which one is not gaining weight. There we go, and it could be a woman as well. Aha! I didn't. No, it's not. It's a guy. Anyway, there's. I'm trying to think of what else is in there that they sort of touch on, than, it is for a thin person. And I think a lot of that, like there's the whole nature versus nurture thing where it's, I really don't think that, genetically speaking, I think that almost everyone is inclined to crave, high fat, high sugar, high salt, stuff like that. The people that don't, those are the outliers. There's, 0.5% or something. But in general, I think that being able to resist that temptation and say, no, I shouldn't really have that because it's not good for me and I'll have something else. And, being able to indulge once in a while, I think that's more of an environmental thing. where, I mean, depending on how you were raised and, you know, how you treated food when you were younger. I mean, I know that there was, I mean, food was always sort of a reward for me. And it generally is for kids in general. It's a reward, having those calorie-dense, high-fat, high-sugar foods. And so, of course, I mean, and we've talked about before how, you know, what is it? Dopamine and serotonin get released when we have that. You know, even the texture of fat in the human mouth will release those chemicals into the brain, which goes right to the pleasure center and goes, this is terrific. So, I mean, we're hardwired to begin with, and when you reinforce that with behavior within your environment, then of course it's going to be tougher for some people to say, no, I'm going to put those away and have something a little bit different. So the next time you're talking to someone and they're saying, well, I can eat whatever I want and I never gain weight, then ask them exactly what they eat in the run of a day. And they probably aren't eating, you know, cakes and cookies and pizzas and sausage and ribs and nachos and all the bad stuff that we like, you know, and then sitting around doing absolutely nothing all day, every day. So there's a difference between saying, well, I can eat what I want, and it being, you know, 1,300 or 1,400 calories, and saying I can't eat anything that I want because in my head it's a 6,000 or 7,000 or 8,000 calorie day. So those are the sorts of things that you need to take into account when you're talking to people like this. But it was an interesting conversation nonetheless, and it sort of fit in with what we were talking about during the week. And then with this documentary, everything sort of comes full circle. So I know that we should probably be looking at things about carbohydrates and stuff like that, but this one just really sort of hit the nail on the head this week. It just sort of fit in with what we were doing. So I think you'll enjoy it. And the narrator is Peter Capaldi, which is kind of neat. So for any of you Doctor Who fans, 80 Songbird as well, he's the current Doctor. So it's a long way to go to get there. But yes, so obviously he knows what he's talking about. He's a doctor. So I don't know what else you want me to say. Anyway, go up, take a look at it. Very interesting. I think that you'll enjoy it. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching.